Pointy End. I'm Keith Sutherland. Today my guest is Rosemary Sorensen, the Artistic Director of the Bendigo Writers' Festival. Welcome.
4 times.
I know, this has come around so quickly, and who would believe that this is the 4th year?
I know.
What an amazing event.
Rod Fife was telling me that he was in Melbourne the other day and telling them about the Writers' Festival's on again, and he said that they said, oh, well, you've been going 10 years. So looks as though we did hit the ground running, as they say.
Well, when I look at this program, and it's action-packed, that's only the front of it, I cannot believe the number of speakers, the number of writers that are coming there, and the number of events. It just keeps getting bigger and bigger. I don't know how you put it together, to be honest.
I'm afraid that you don't want to get too big, because one of our key things, as you well know, is that friendliness and that fact that we're in such terrific venues and they're all close together. However, we were having the problem that we've got to make sure that people can get a seat to popular things, and you can't always guess what's popular, but you sort of know. But you want to give lots of variety at the same time as you want to give a decent audience to every little event. What we did was add in both Alhambra, because the big new theatre's online this year, so we thought we'll have to do that, and that's a big space to fill. And we don't expect to fill it either, but we know that we can have a big event there and something that people can go out and frock up a bit at night. Then we thought, but we're actually one short of a venue. We sometimes get more than that 100 or 150 people in an event, and we want to have a slightly bigger space. So we found Trades Hall. So we've added Trades Hall, which is just, as you would well know,
just down the road.
A tiny walk across. I'm hoping the weather's nice, doesn't matter if it's not really, but it's a very close, just past the art gallery there, and it's a good size, it's a perfect size for us because it's a couple of hundred people. So now we've got, when I was putting it together I thought, oh, this is too complex, but it's actually working out, I think, before the event, it's working out well, because it's now got all events start at the same time, they all finish at the same time. You've got a quarter of an hour to change venues, to pop into the bookshop or have a cup of coffee or whatever. So I hope, look, these things evolve, don't they?
They do, and it's a great space that you're saying, Trades Hall. Very interesting. I was looking through the program. Ken Marchingo, the last time I was there was only about a month, 6 weeks ago, for their 10th anniversary for Haven. So Ken was there. He should be back in that venue, so it was so well done. Anyway, we better get back on the program. Before I do ask you a couple of questions about the program, is there a launch again this year of a new book? Because I didn't seem to see that in the program.
Yeah, in Dudley House. What we did was we make sure, anybody who knows the festival will know that the hub is the place where you go between sessions, buy your books and signings. This year definitely in the hub you'll meet the authors there, because we'll have a signing table in there. We didn't get that quite right last year. This year we'll make sure that the author's there after the event, so you don't miss out. We did have a few events in the hub, and that meant that people sort of it was terrific because it was crowded and busy. I love that.
But it was distracting.
But a little bit distracting. So now
I can relate to that last year, actually.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, indeed. So I think we've done better by moving everything out into Dudley House, where we've got on the Sunday we've got poetry readings, which you've got to have poetry readings at a festival.
Well, it's a writers' festival.
Yeah, and people, it's a small audience for those sorts of things, but they're a passionate audience, and our poets are passionate people. So it's lovely that we're going to have 15-minute sessions of all our poets in there on Sunday. In the middle of it, Carmel Bird, a great institution up here, Castlemaine resident and a very well-known Australian author, is launching her new book, which is called My Hearts Are Your Hearts. I think that's the title, that's right, which is about short story writing, short stories plus writing. And Carmel Bird's going to get Kate Kennedy to launch it. And Kate's just moved to the region. We are such an up-and-coming region. Kate Kennedy is one of the best short story writers in the country. So we've got that happening on the Sunday, and we've also at the same time got our little Vox Bendigo book launch, which we had a little prize, and we gave it to a fellow called Ken Chow, which is a fantastic little set of stories. A little book that that Bendigo Publishing has helped us with, and Rod Fife has helped us with. Thank you very much, Rod, to fund it. Yeah. And we'll have the little book there and Ken Chow there to welcome him to our region too. So nice, as well as the big names, we've got lots of nice little things happening.
Isn't that interesting that you say that, because Bendigo is one of the cultural centres of Victoria now, if not Australia. With
The world.
All right, the world. We'll say that, and it is. It's on the map. But having said that, with the artists, the writers, and that are now gravitating to Bendigo, Cole Thompson was finding the same with the Blues and Roots. We've got young people coming to live in Bendigo because there's musicians, there's other like-minded people. So it really is the cultural centre. But anyway, back to the program.
No, that's very important. And
I think very important.
One of the reasons the Writers' Festival, I think, is really important because it puts us on the map for writers and it gives them a network for people to meet, to know that it's okay to come here, that they'll find like-minded people, they'll find events to go to, they'll find things to listen to. We could do with some more bookshops. Dimix is our bookshop again this year. But well, the thing is about, I mean, I think this is getting off the topic, but that's what Pointy End is about. This is to have that shop front. I think it's really important that you do have a bookshop, and any town without a bookshop I think is missing. However, you don't need so much online selling is done now, and you probably know yourself how easy it is and how much that opens it up. I think they work in tandem very well indeed. I know it's tough for the bookshops, but I think that the more books that are available faster is better for a civil society, you know, for a good life society. That's our theme, of course, this year.
The good life.
The good life.
We'll come back to that. Opening night is with Bob Brown, Hope for the Good Life, of course. And Bob Brown is sure to be entertaining because what a career the man's had, the Franklin, and then into politics.
Career.
And I just think you've been able to come up with some wonderful speakers, and bless his heart, Malcolm Fraser a couple of years ago, and Blanche last year. It just keeps happening, but Bob Brown will be well worth listening to.
I think indeed, and I think the lovely thing about that is a lot of people, I think, just go, oh, well, he's a politician. Well, he's not, you know. He's actually a thinker, and his new book, which is called Optimism, is about saying, you know, if you're sitting there going, gosh, it's hard, you know, and not personal hard, that's one thing, and we understand that, and we've got sessions on grief and things like that to think about. But it's hard when you hear all the bad news. You know, should we be worried about the environment? Of course we should. And should we be worried about community and politics? Should we be worried about those things? The trouble is you can get so worried that you sit there thinking, oh my goodness, I'm so worried. Bob's Brown, the same as Tariq Ali, who's our other keynote speaker, both say, well, just don't sit there and get worried. Get up. Be active. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to join a political party or that you have to go out campaigning to save the Franklin or whatever. It does mean, though, that you do what I'm doing here now and get up and talk to you and feel active in your community. Because even though it might feel hard before you do it, afterwards, and you know this so well, Keith, do you not? You know that you've actually added to your community rather than taken it away. And that's what the Writers' Festival is all about. A little bit of adding, a little bit of value adding, so we can all feel better about ourselves.
Well, you mentioned Tariq Ali with Robert Mann, of course, and talking about contemporary politics. And that's the very essence of what you're talking about here, because we're bombarded with all this terrorism and ISIS, the death cult, and all these sorts of things, and we get scared about it, and then people saying don't be overreacted. Yesterday Malcolm Turnbull's talking about stuff, so that would be a wonderful session in relation to what's just been happening this last few weeks and months.
Exactly right.
Exactly.
Where is the hope? That's the thing, and before we do get hopeless, and we've got sessions with Ian McCalman too, who wrote the book on the reef, the Great Barrier Reef, and a beautiful book. Not just, it tells you the whole history of human contact with the Great Barrier Reef, and he's such a gorgeous writer that you get this sense that you're learning about your country's history, which we, for goodness sakes, if we don't know the history of the Great Barrier Reef, how can we call, this is going to sound very Aussie, how can we call ourselves Australians? It's a wonder of the world. So I'm really pleased that he's coming. He's talking to Robert Mann as well.
Be interesting to see what he says about the endangered, whether it's sort of on the borderline but didn't make it. But anyway.
It's a weird thing, isn't it? But it's a debate. It's a debate, and that's what they're all saying.
I'm sure that'll come up in this lesson.
And get the information. And that's why these people are fantastic fast tracks to getting the information. Make up your own mind afterwards, but get the information.
I just want to make a mention of a couple more. John Clark and John Wolseley on the last closing event. So you've got some really special people. We all know John Clark from the ABC.
Very special,
very funny. And so you've got some wonderful people opening, closing. But in between, there's a couple of standouts. And I know that's hard when you've got so many people. Is there a couple that you think are really standout
I'm
ones?
very pleased for Bendigo that we've got Brenda Nile coming to talk about, and this is going to sound very strange, but it's Brenda Nile talking about her new book on Archbishop Mannix. Now, I, for one, am please, this might get me run out of Bendigo. I'm not that interested in the history of the Catholic Church. Oh, I'm sorry, but I'm not. But
in a very Catholic community here in Bendigo,
exactly,
you're saying that?
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. And again, I've come back to that point I made before. You can't know Bendigo unless you know the role of the Catholic Church and the role of all those people who networked with that and its situation now. I mean, we're still having the results of the fact that if it weren't for the Catholic Church in Bendigo, I suspect that this city wouldn't look the way it does. Well, it wouldn't have, let's face it. And it wouldn't be the kind of community, which is a very caring community, at the same time as it's a very ambitious community. All those things come through the history of the Catholic Church. And of course, Mannix, what was he, 99 or something when he died? And his influence in Australia was enormous, and an unusual man, a lively man, and the sort of man, again, that just because his name's everywhere doesn't mean we can't dig into his history. Brendan Niles' book does exactly that. It's so readable and wonderful and surprising, and it's the sort of thing that after you've read it you go, glad I read that. You know, that makes me more prepared to deal with my community.
It'd be interesting to see if David Kennedy goes along, because there was lots of things coming from the pulpit back in those days when politics was rife and the Catholic Church had an influence and a big influence back then.
Fascinating stuff, isn't it? Yeah, and she is just the best biographer. She's probably, I think, Australia's best biographer. So how good to have her here.
Fantastic. Another one that interests me, of course, is Anthony Radford's talking to Nick Dryfin, I think.
Yeah, Dryenfirth, his name.
That's
It's
right.
a hard name, isn't it?
It is. Latika Burke and Paul Daly.
Yeah.
Politics Stranger Than Fiction. So that'll be a really interesting one, the political freak like myself.
Yeah, Latika Burke is a great...
I love her stuff.
Isn't she wonderful?
Yeah.
And to see...
Vibrant with it.
Fantastic, and I mean, incredibly busy. We're lucky to have her here, national political reporter for Fairfax. Paul Daly, of course, won a Walkley this year, or this year, I think it was this year, for his Indigenous reporting. So, but he's got this thing called Challenge, which is a thriller novel, which is great. Which is, I think, anybody vaguely interested in politics, which I know you are, Keith, you'd laugh at it, because you can. It's like a roman à clef. You can see all the characters, but it's no political party, but it's every political party, and it's very good. The reason Nick Dryenfirth's on Dryenfirth, I've got to get that right, don't I?
Dryenforth
is because, and just think of him as Nick Mate, because he's written the most fantastic book about the history of mateship in Australia, and of course the way the political parties, including Bob Hawke and John Howard, claimed the word mate for themselves. That's why he's on that political, and he writes about Labor politics all the time too. But I loved the history of that, because you actually realise why this blokey sort of use of mate, we're all in it together, and what you get away with under that. And well, actually, you know what, mate, we're not all in it together unless you do the right thing. And the book is fantastically fun. Lots set here too, because of course the goldfields, the mate business came out of the goldfields as well.
So Anthony will be in his element. Another one
will
that
be.
I'm looking forward to personally, Sunday afternoon, 3 till 4, Passing Clouds winemaker Graham Leith and Mildura's renowned restaurateur Stefano De Piri. I'm really so looking forward to being involved in that one, because those guys have got a long history. And
amazing.
That's probably quite
very
exciting.
Very sad history though, isn't it too?
It is,
this
when
is
you
the
sort
one
of start
we
to
won't let
dig
people
down into that.
Yeah,
yes.
it's a life story, but also the story of so many people want to make wine. Have you ever wanted to do that?
No, I haven't.
No.
It's too much hard work, I think, when you rely on the elements.
Yeah, he's a genius winemaker, absolute genius. And when you find out that this terrible tragedy at the middle of his life, just when things were coming good at Passing Clouds, which of course is well, it's at Dalesford now, but it was out the other way. Yeah,
it was King Gower, because I've done a bit of research on that, and so he's still got some Shiraz wines being made there. I've done my homework so far, so I've got a few.
Did you do your homework by having a nice bottle of Passing Clouds?
I love Passing. Graham's
very good,
yes,
isn't it?
It's lovely.
He's one of the best.
Yeah, so there's really, as we say, an action-packed program, something for everybody. Quite excited that the 4th year. I've got to say congratulations to you as artistic director, because you're the driving force. I know there's a committee behind you and the council.
There's a city. There's a city behind us, and that's why it's so good. I really think that this city deserves this kind of event, and I actually think we could make this into a very important event on the cultural calendar for the whole of the country, just because of the kind of city we are.
Yep, and the major sponsors, City of Greater Bendigo, as you mentioned, La Trobe Uni, Bendigo Weekly, the Charlotte Studio, and then you've got the ABC, Arnold Dallas McPherson, Writers Victoria, Masons of Bendigo, Sleepers, Bendigo Woolen Mills. There's some terrific people that are supporting this. So, Rosemary, to you, to Rod Fife as well, and who puts in out of his pocket and lots of time to this event. Congratulations on an action-packed program. And of course, I better tell people it's on the 7th, 8th and 9th of August at all the wonderful venues that we've got around Bendigo. And it's not just showcasing writers, literary items. It's Bendigo, the city, what we've got to offer with these magnificent heritage buildings. So congratulations, well done. Looking forward to this year's Writers' Festival.
The good life in Bendigo.
Thank you, Rosemary.
See you there.